2 of the 2018 Summer Prosperity Series at Center for Spiritual Living, Asheville. I only have one set of questions. Are you ready? Yes! Are you ready to have what you want to have? Yes! Are you ready to buy what you want to buy? Yes! Are you ready to go where you want to go? Yes! Are you ready to do what you want to do? Yes! Are you ready to be who you were meant to be? Yes! Get off your butts and we'll do our treatment for freedom together aloud. I clearly know that God is the source of all supply and that money is God in action. I know that my good is here now. I am so rich and so full that I have an abundance of money to spare and to share today and always. I know that true prosperity includes perfect health, perfect wealth, and perfect happiness. This word which I speak in faith knowing now activates universal law, and I accept the results. I bless all that I have now, and I bless the increase. I bless all the others in the increased income program of our class, and I know that we now prosper together in every way. I give thanks for this good, and so it is. Whoa! Yes! Yes! They say a thought plus a feeling equals an action. I think we have both of those things going on. So I want to explain this to you, those of you, how many people were not here last week? Wonderful. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is our increased income program. We used to call it unexpected income, but now we expect it. That we do every summer. And if you want to play, you don't have to, but if you want to play, then you can. Here is the agreement. You do your treatment for prosperity at least once a day for yourself and everyone else in the class. I recommend you do it at least 100 times a day. Do it while you're driving, do it while you're taking a shower, do it while you turn the TV off, do your treatment for freedom. Create more money in your life. Create more prosperity and more health and happiness and joy. This, if you want to be included, it says put me on the list. You sign it and put your name and address on it. The agreement is that whatever increase you get during the class, you agree to tithe 10% on the increase to Center for Spiritual Living, Asheville. And that is increased money that you would not have had otherwise. So take a deep breath. Those of you who are saying, screw that, I'm tithing on everything I've got because I am all about creating, then this is not for you. For those of you who haven't gotten there yet, this is on the increase. That's the agreement. We're going to have an opportunity to share at the beginning of every class. In order to share, you must have already demonstrated the money. It's not something's coming, something's happening. You also need to have your 10% tithe check in hand when you come up to share. And that way it's clean and clear, and yes, I opened the mailbox, there it was, a friend told me, and there it was, and here's my tithe, and this is my story, and this is real. The spiritual law is not airy-fairy. We have real, concrete, demonstrable results that we can hold in our hand, put in our pocket, put in the bank, and use. So if you want to be a part of this, then that is the way to do it. When the baskets go around, tear off this entire sheet and put it in the basket, and John and I will do treatment work holding these in our hands every day for the duration of the class. No matter where we are or what's going on, we have these with us. And we've got that energy going on where we are treating for every person in this class. Those of you who were not here last week, there is a syllabus that goes along with the book. I'm going to just pass some down. If you weren't here last week, you're going to want to have a copy of the syllabus so you know what the reading is. And again, if you don't have the book, the books are on sale in the bookstore. It is the 20 Secrets of Success by Fenwick Holmes, the book that John and I created out of thin air.
Yeah.
Now, you can also get the book for free on our website, our homepage at cslasheville.org. It's right on the homepage. Just scroll down a little bit and you'll find the book. Click it and it will download into whatever piece of equipment you're using to access the website. Also, the increased income brochure, by the time those of you watching online, the increased income brochure will be right there next to the book, and you can click it on, fill it out, email it to me, or email it to the center, and we will include you in all of this. We have a whole bunch of people who are watching online and participating in this Summer Prosperity Series. I got a note from someone in Oakland, California today going, oh, I'm so excited, I can't wait for the first video to be on the web. So that's where we are with the increased income. Any questions? Okay, who's got a story to tell? Go, Margot.
Yeah.
Come on up. Is she in the camera here, Judith?
No.
Okay, come on over.
Come on over.
Put your check. More. Put your check in the basket and come right here in front of the room.
Last week I got a check from two checks from my insurance company, one for $197 and one for $23.
Yeah.
Okay, so mine started actually 2 weeks ago because I got all excited. I'm like, oh, prosperity class is coming up, so I'm going to start doing my treatment again. And I got all excited, did my treatment the next morning. My boss actually texted me and said, hey, I gave you a $200 raise. And I had 2 bookings for my Airbnb go through. Then after last week, Monday night, I kept doing my treatment before bed and everything, and the next morning I woke up to a $100 love donation for my practitioner work that I've been doing recently.
Mine happened last Monday, and I had gone over to Toyota to get an oil change, and thought, oh, well, I'll just, you know, they've been advertising the big sale, and so I thought, okay, well, I'll just go over and see what the big sale is about. So I went over and had a nice salesman, and he walked me all around and looked at all these different cars, and then there was one that I really liked. So he said, okay, well, let's go in and talk about it. And so we talked, and they took my car to see, you know, what they would give me for it, and we talked some more, and I was just very pleased with my negotiating skills. And so I bought a new RAV4. And then I went home, and I called up my financial manager and said, okay, well, I bought a new car today, so I need some money. He says, well, how much do you need? I'll pull up your account, and we'll see what we can do, but you know, the market's been really volatile. And so he pulled my account and said, oh, that's just what your account increased today.
So, I've been paying into a short-term disability plan at work for 17 years, and I'm reaping the benefits of that on a weekly basis. In addition to my income, I'm getting paid because of all the hours I had while I've been out, $1,000 a week. I may just stay out longer than the 12 weeks.
lots of things have been happening. It was probably about 3 to 4 weeks ago, and I decided, you know, Barbara had been giving, I've been hearing about tithing, and something clicked with me, and I said, I'm just going to go for this. I don't know. I don't have the money, at least I don't think I have the money, but I don't care. At this point, I'm just going there. And so every Sunday, I've been getting out my checkbook, and I go to write this big check, and I can hear the voice in the back of my head saying, "You do not have that money." And I just write the damn check anyway, and I just put it down. So anyway, lots of stuff has been happening, but one thing I want to share tonight is that I finished studying for 3.5 months for this very, very difficult certification exam for one of my careers. And after passing and getting this great certification, I shared that on Facebook, and I came to class, or came to the center, and Barbara said, "Congratulations on this great achievement. So you are going to get paid more now, right?" And I hadn't even thought of that. And so I all of a sudden said, "Yeah, I am." So the next day I went into my boss and talked about it, and she is doing the rubric cube as we speak and going to be giving me a raise. So.
Yay. Who else? Cash in the hand, increased income this week. Yay.
CSL sent me $400.
Yay. Anybody else? Well, I have one. I went out to the mailbox on Saturday, and there was a lovely note to me with a check in it for $100. Here's my tithe. Yay! Anybody else? I don't want to shortchange anybody. Why? Are you getting up, Crystal? Oh, why is this important? Why is it important to be able to sit there and see people get up and say, money came out of the blue? Inspiration. Inspiration. Boy, I know sometimes I'm sitting there going, boy, if they can do it, I can do it. We can all do it. And what this asks of you is that you move beyond your fear. That's why I keep saying tithing is step one. Tithing is step one because it forces us to break through our fear. It's not the end-all, be-all, but if you're still holding on to your fear, none of this other stuff is going to work. Because you're afraid. You're coming from a set point of fear, restriction, holding on. And so to be able to say, oh, screw it, I'm going to write it out anyway, and then realize, oh yeah, I just got a raise, that shows that when you set spiritual law in motion, things happen. It allows us to develop a little faith. It allows us to go beyond our preconceived ideas of what is possible. Boy, if we just lived as to what was possible, we'd never do anything. There would never be any evolution in nature if we always stayed with what was possible. All growth is always going beyond the possible. And this thing about being prosperous, people think, well, all you have to do is go to Center for Spiritual Living, the Prosperity Church in Asheville, and you will all of a sudden have a lot of money. It doesn't work that way. It requires you to change. I frankly don't know of any other teaching that asks more of you because it requires you to change the way you think, to change the way you react to things, that you respond to things, that you handle things, where you go inside of yourself when life says boo. And if you don't have any faith, if you don't have any sense that you really are being supported by the universe, that there is something that you can do about life, then you're just being blown around by the winds of fate like a little lost leaf, like the feather in Forrest Gump that kept floating around all the way just by wherever the wind blew. We are not that. We are powerful, creative, spiritual beings, and we get to have it all. We get to have it all if we are willing to open up and to let go of all the crap of our lives and embrace having it all. We get to have it. But as long as we hold on and play small, well, I'll go, but I'm only going to do that treatment once. Once a day, that's it. That's all you get from me. And I may cough up some money for money that shows up out of the blue, but that's it, boy. You're not tricking me. Really, you want to live a life that way? You don't want to go full on? You've got 6 weeks here to really catch this wave of energy, of creation of this room. And who knows who else is out in the world of saying, yes, money shows up. We have had money fall out of the sky. Honest to God. We've had money be found on Montfort in a brown bag under a bush. I think it was drug money, but perhaps it's gone to better use. As I said yesterday, we had someone win the lottery. We did. The energy in this room will open you up to whatever avenues you connect with, whatever level you're vibrating at, to be able to receive more than you have ever received before. But I encourage you to go for it. Do not hold back. Do not say, well, that's just the way it's always been, so that's the way it's always going to be. No. If you think that way, that is the way it's always going to be, and you're going to be stuck for the rest of your life. When you could be traveling and buying new cars and having all kinds of wonderful experiences, it's like life is just saying, come on, get on board. Let's go on the happy train. Let's go on the prosperity train. Let's do this. But I can't do it for you. You've got to do it. And I know plenty of people in this room that went from rags to riches. I know plenty of people in this room that look at their fear and broke through it and said, I refuse to live like this anymore. I will live the good life. And if I have to tackle every hidden belief I've ever had, if I have to forgive my parents, if I have to set intentions and do affirmations and give out into the world, then I will do that so that I can have what is mine. I don't want any of my students to be poor. It is not my style. The only reason you can stay poor around me is if you hold on to the past for dear life. And I got to tell you, it is not worth it. It is not worth it. I don't care what happened to you. I don't care who did what. I don't care what you have thought up until now. It is not worth it for you to stay the same instead of opening up and going for it. Do your treatments 100 times, 1,000 times. I used to have people in this class go out to Dick's and get the clicker and click it till you hit 1,000 a day. And people would say, well, I don't have any time to think about anything else. That's the point. I don't want you to think about anything else. I want you to dream. I, Barbara, know that God is the source of all supply and that money is God in action. I want that to be the focus of your energy. And then I want you to rev it up. Anytime anything happens and you get something, you are to do the happy dance. You do the happy dance. You jump up and down. I don't care if it's in Walmart. Do the happy dance. Let them think you're nuts. You'll be nuts all the way to the bank in your happy life. Celebrate it. Put some energy in it. Anchor it in. You find a penny, do the happy dance. Claim it. You have no idea what's waiting for you in this class over the next 6 weeks. You have no idea. The guy that won the lottery, he didn't know he was going to win the lottery. We didn't know he was going to win the lottery until he came in with this giant thing all wrapped up in black plastic. Hi, Chris.
Hello.
Yes.
I remember that distinctly. And I do remember very well that John said to the group, is there anyone who has not demonstrated yet? And Tom went up and spoke to John, and John treated with him, and they did the financial treatment, and the next week he came in with a $200,000
Wow.
check.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right. It was a happy day.
And he tithed on
He
that.
was good to his word. He came over with a tithe check, because if you don't keep your word, what are you using to put law in motion?
Yep.
If you say one thing and then you don't stand behind it, you're telling spiritual law not to stand behind your word, because you don't stand behind it. You've got to be able to jump in there and go for it. This is your summer to prosper. This is your summer to demonstrate. This is your summer to break through all of the old ideas about what you can and cannot have. Well, I only have this much education. I dropped out of high school. I have a GED. I only have this much money. I only had this much opportunity. You don't know where I came from. I don't care where you came from. That's then. This is now. You are God in form as you. All of the prosperity, all of the abundance. You look out on those Hubble telescope views and see those billions, Carl Sagan's, billions and billions of stars out there. That is the prosperity and the abundance that is you now. Not a little piece of you, you're not a little piece of it. The whole shebang is you now. And if you can get beyond your fear of, oh my God, what would I do if I really was rich? You will be rich. But it doesn't just happen. You got to do it. So do your treatments, do your reading, do the homework that's given you. Go for what is truly yours and watch heaven and earth come together to lift you up beyond the point of you've ever been before. I have seen it happen every year, over and over and over and over again. The only question is it going to be you this year?
Yes! Yes.
Let's do it again.
Get up, get up, get up, get up, get up. Are you ready?
Yes.
Yes. Are you ready?
Yes.
Are you ready for this to be you this year?
Yes.
Are you ready to have more money than you ever dreamed possible?
Yes.
Are you ready to have miracles show up in your life?
Yes.
We're going to do our treatment for prosperity together aloud.
I do know that God is the source of all supply, and that money is God in action. I know that my good is here now. I am so rich and so full that I have an abundance of money to spare and to share today and always. I know that true prosperity includes perfect health, perfect wealth, and perfect happiness. This word which I speak in faith knowing now activates universal law, and I accept the results. I bless all that I have now, and I bless the increase. I bless all the others in the increased income program of our class, and I know that we now prosper together in every way. I give thanks for this good, and so it is.
That's better. Some people say, Barbara's just trying to brainwash us. Well, if your brain is filled with dirty ideas about how you can't do this, it's good to get it washed. Who was here last week for the board breaking?
Yes.
Yeah! Nice job, Sue.
Yes.
Taught us how to do
You
it.
were awesome.
Did you see 9-year-old Zane McIlvain break his board? Man, that was a great night. That was showing us what we can do and who we are.
Yeah.
And what I love about it is that it's physical. You know, it's like the fire walk that way. It's physical. We have to get into it. You got to do it. You know, but you're left with the realization that you can do it. And so it's the same outcome. And we want us all to be very clear that that's what we are. We are able to do this. This is not beyond us. This is not out of the realm of us having wealth and being successful and making our lives work. It is absolutely ours to do. That being so, we should look at this idea of success, because I think it needs a little refinement in our minds. So the book is called The 20 Secrets of Success, and thing which is on. You know what? It won't work unless you plug it in. Isn't that amazing? So many lessons. Success. The constant pursuit of meaningful life. That's what I say success is. What the definition of it is in the dictionary, and what a lot of people say, is that it's an accomplishment of a goal, that it's the attainment of prosperity. Those are nice, but I know too many people that have gotten their goals met or attained wealth, and then their lives went weird. It's like they got depressed. Like it wasn't working right. And so what happened? It all fell apart. And when all of the employees and the property and all of the assets of the company dwindled back down, and it's just that one person who had that great vision and that great delight of building some kind of an enterprise was by himself or herself, what are they going to do? Start over. Maybe do something a little different, but start over. And find success. And it's amazing how many people that have been millionaires and then lost it become millionaires again. It's like they figured out how to do it, they just didn't hold the course. So I'm suggesting for us for this next 6 weeks that success is that constant pursuit of a meaningful life. And as soon as you're doing that, you're being successful. That makes your life successful. It's not, you don't become successful when you hit a mark. That's a mark, that's a point, that's a level of achievement, but that's not it. You were successful when you were getting there, and you'll be successful afterwards when you continue that pursuit of a meaningful life. So we all have it in us to be successful. Nobody falls short on that. Nobody here has anything less than the ability to be successful. I love that people out in the world think this is a prosperity church. I want them to think that. I want them to see us that way. And I want us to live that kind of life. And I think more and more that's what we're doing. At least from all the stories I'm hearing, that's what we're doing. We're paying off debt. We're increasing our assets. We're finding new lines of income, ways to create the things that we want to do. And we're doing really brilliant undertakings. We're finding, I looked at you, Jan, going out into nature and finding these gnarly little pieces of wood and finding in them beauty. Giving them a name, putting them on the table and having someone go, oh, I want that, and paying good money for it. You remind me a little bit of one of the people that I hold in high esteem in my life, and that was the creator of the pet rock. What an idea. What a marketing idea. Put a round rock in a box with a little hay or something and sell it at Neiman Marcus for $300. It's brilliant. With instructions for care. Of course, you got to include that in it. There are so many ways for us to achieve the outcomes that we desire in our lives. We are unlimited. The only thing that limits us is our sense of ourselves. Also, there's this idea that there's some opposite of success. What do you think the opposite of success is?
Failure.
Everybody thinks that failure is the opposite of success. I disagree. Because truly, I can't find failure in the world. I know a lot of people talk about it, a lot of people write about it, a lot of people think about it. But I'm not going there. I'm not going to play failure. That's not going to work for me. To me, the opposite of success is resistance. You know, it's just when we find everything else to do with that thing that will satisfy us. When we spend all of our time dealing with papers, shuffling papers, putting them in files, I do that. Instead of doing the thing that's going to bring us that great sense of accomplishment. Now, if we're seeking that thing and we don't have it yet, I believe we're already successful because we're focused on it, we're acting on it. There's a tension between where we are and where we want to be. And when we pull against that tension and then give to it and move with it, that thing that we are calling the thing we want in our lives, our great desire, our great dream, it's coming toward us as much as we're coming toward it. That's success. That's what we're looking for. Holmes said just a little bit of increase of improvement every day is all you need to make this work. And I believe that if you're doing that, you're being successful. Why hold off on celebrating who we are and knowing who we are till we've reached some mark in income or assets or the acquirement of some outcome? Why do we have to wait for that? We don't. We don't. We can be successful right now. And every day do a little something to move a little closer to it. We can all do that. Because if we buy this idea of failure, we'll end up underwater. And then we'll change our sense of ourselves enough to think that that's who we are. That is not who we are. We are something much, much greater than that. So our work for the next 6 weeks, and 6 weeks is an interesting amount of time because it's 50 days. Nice big round number, 50 days. It's 6 weeks plus that 1 day to get back to a Monday, 50 days. So you got 50 days to be constant and consistent in being successful in your life. That's your work. And of course, we're going to go through these principles over the next few weeks and look at how to apply them, the ones that Fenwick's giving us. But there's some work to even get ready for that. And that's where we are today. So, what is the iconic symbol of success? Let's see. Yep, it would be money. And this money thing is very misunderstood by people. You know that cash like that is the least part of the wealth of the world. Yep. And the way that they count the gross national product of a country, including this one, is that I have money and I buy something from Sherry, and Sherry gives me the thing or service or product, and she takes that money and she goes and she buys some service or product and she spends that money, and on it goes. And every time there's a sale, there's an exchange, that money gets counted as money in the economy. Yeah. The cash is not a big part of it. So don't think that your cash is what's guiding you. But symbol, you know, a check doesn't have the same ooh as cash does. So we look at that and figure out how to have a relationship with this idea of money. Fenwick gives us some great stuff here. On page 8 he says, "It is any wonder that the world is interested in money, eager to learn the secret of the acquisition of wealth. And why should we assume that it is wrong for the spiritually minded to inquire into it? Is all money tainted? Is money tainted? No. Have you had thoughts in your life, though, that maybe it is? Maybe just little thoughts, not big thoughts. No. Just little thoughts. It's a quarter.
Oh, it tastes awful.
Those of you that are having a reaction to that have a hidden belief that money is dirty. You do. You just went, oh. So, oh, well, that doesn't affect how I feel about money. Well, yes, it does. Yes, it does. I don't think it really matters, because now I want all of you to pull out a quarter and put it in your mouth. No, I'm kidding. You don't have to do that. But I wanted you to get that sense. Those of you that had a reaction, you don't have to admit it. Just, you know it if you did. If you had a reaction to that, think about how you feel about money. You don't know where that's been. I don't know many people that put, you know, coins up their butt, so it doesn't really concern me that much. The idea you work with is, how are you relating to money? How are you relating to money? All money. Do you find value in it? Yes. Okay, so what's this thing where we yearn for more money, or we go through all this that we don't have enough money in our lives? That's what we do. We go, if I just had X number of dollars, I could do this thing. I don't know how to do that. I don't know what to do. And you get lost in that, and that starts to feel like failure. But there's not a one of you that's failing or that is limited by that, because money is a creation. It's simply a creation. We use it to count. That's all we do. We create, it's the thing that we buy with it that has the value. I've always had this weird thing. So many people have this idea they want $1 million. But they don't want to keep $1 million. They want to use the $1 million to buy stuff. So they really don't want $1 million. Because as soon as they get it and spend the first amount of it on whatever it is, they don't have $1 million anymore. So it's not real. It's made up. It's a false focus. The focus is on being successful. The focus is on creating the life of your dreams. The focus oftentimes needs to be is what value are you bringing to the world? That's where we're doing something productive. What are we bringing to the world? And most stuff that we bring to the world, unless we happen to be working as a nonprofit, brings a return. Yes, there are volunteer positions that do not directly pay you, but there are lots of things in the world that are affected when you bring yourself and your gifts to the world. And you're compensated for it either directly or indirectly. That's a constant aspect of life, is that there is a dynamic flow. It's a spiritual thing, but it's about money. It's about money, so that if your focus is, I am successful, I have what I need to make my life work, what comes out of that is a result that reflects that. And it's not that you just sit in the corner and do affirmations. You can do affirmations and things will happen. I will not tell you that's not true. It is true. Things will happen. But the consistency of being successful means that you have an idea, a vision, a dream, a plan, a direction. You have somewhere you're going, something that you want to create in the world. And by having that, you're creating that tension that draws you toward that. And being in that tension is success. So accept that. And when something about that doesn't show up just the way you thought it should, be unchanged with your intention to go forward with that. That's the work. That's the thing that you're looking for, is that constancy of purpose, that constancy of direction. And I believe that that is absolutely success. So we're talking about money. I remember when I was a kid, my father was he worked with jukeboxes. Remember jukeboxes? When you put the quarter in and you play, or actually I remember it being even a nickel when I was a kid. But then it would play a song. The machine would play it right on a 45 disc. And that was what he did, was he serviced those machines, he collected the money on them. And what happened with his collections often was that he would get Canadian quarters. Because they were about the same size, and there wasn't high technology at the time. So you put a Canadian quarter, but a Canadian quarter was worth a fraction of a U.S. Money. In fact, as I recall, he would tell me that a Canadian dollar was worth a quarter at the time. There was that much of a disparity. Now, back in 2004, a Canadian dollar or an American dollar was the same, was worth 1.5 Canadian dollars. Now I got it backwards. The Canadian dollar was worth 1.5 US dollars, so that the Canadian dollar was worth more. Now apparently that's moved again. It's about, a Canadian dollar is worth about 75 cents in the United States right now. But the idea is that you put that in the machine and hear songs for a fraction of what it would cost if you had to put a quarter in. So things change. These markets, these money markets change all the time. Nothing's solid. It's all plastic. It's all moving. It's all changing. And in the same way it does that in the currency markets is the way it does it in your life. You set the value. And you determine what it is that's going to come flowing into your life. Now most people don't think they have that kind of control. They wish they did. They hope that they could have it. They really like to have it. They want it. No. You have the ability to set your intention to have a certain amount of dynamic flow in your life. I truly don't think it's healthy to have a ton of money sitting in the bank. I think it's more value when we move it, when we do things with it, when we have it work for us, whatever, however that works. But the idea is that by focusing on increasing your net worth will go up. It will. Worrying about it, you'll end up with money in a falling stock market or a property decreasing value or whatever it is. So don't go there. We're going to talk about how not to go there here in a few minutes. But the idea is that you're in the driver's seat with this. Nobody else is doing this. Nobody else is making your money do anything but you. It's how you think. And please, we may have some people in here with kids. I hope that parents will stop telling their children that you can't afford it. God, parents use that ad nauseum. It's not true. Tell your child you're not going to buy that. Give them something else to think about around that, but say, I'm choosing not to do that. It's not about I can't afford it, because you're teaching them that you're poor. Do you really want your children to think you're poor? How does that help? Because then they are children of poor people. That will not help them in their lives. The truth is they are the children of prosperous parents who can choose what they do and what they spend their money on, and have the ability to control what's coming into their lives and what's going out. That's all part of the same deal. So the job with money is the idea of money. And we struggle with it. And we do some interesting things, like we wad it up. Lack of respect for that symbol of money. I see it all the time in the baskets here. I get those baskets come back up, and I look down on that top one, and there's something wadded right there. Barbara's teacher in Florida used to say to everyone at the church in Fort Lauderdale, if you want to put $5 in the offering plate, please go down to Unity. They want you there. Now that sounds like an insult, but it's truly to call to the attention that if you're going to play here, play real. Don't be someone who's living that impoverished thing. I know that the story of the widow's mite in the Bible is this lovely story about this woman that had hardly nothing, and she put her money in the basket at the synagogue. And Jesus praised her for that. And frankly, I wish he'd said a little more, like, this woman has prosperity in her life, because from that place of not having, she will prosper. But that's not the way the story goes. The idea is that we act in our lives from a place of having not just enough, but more than enough. More than enough to create the life that we desire. Sometimes that's a little hard, because the money thing plays mind games on us. We think that somehow that it can't happen, or we just don't know how it's going to happen, and we're willing to resolve that that's where we're going to stay, is that place of not having enough. But the truth is that we can always have more than we think we can. We can accomplish greater things than we thought we could. It's really us setting the bar. So we have to move beyond this idea of not enough. We have to move beyond the idea that we can't, because we can, without exception. Completely, absolutely we can. How many of us know how much money we have in the bank right now? Okay, we got a few hands, and we got a few that didn't. Which actually could go two ways. It could be, I have so much money in the bank I can't keep up with it. Or it could be that I really don't look at that. And I think not knowing how much money, generally, not to the penny, but generally how much money is in each of your accounts, and even your investment accounts, is something you should know. You should just know. Not that you're going to share that with many people in the world, but there's a sense of knowing, because that's a marker that tells you how you're progressing in your progress. If you are just barely making it and it's freaking you out that you don't seem to have enough money to meet your bills, ignoring that will not help you. Now, Holmes said turn away from the condition, and that's true. But still, you know what the condition is. You just don't empower it by worrying about it and fearing it and being upset about it. That won't help you. That won't help anybody. But knowing what your balances are might be a good thing. So I would ask you over the next 6 weeks to look at that, up until the 6th Monday that we're here from now. Know what your balance is, roughly, so that you can say it. And I will ask you probably in a couple of weeks, You know, who knows what their balance is? We'll see who raises their hand and knows. And do you know how much debt you have? It's important to know that because you're going to pay it off. If you don't know what it is, how are you going to pay it off? Obviously you're not by paying minimum payments on your credit cards. I heard on the radio this week that the average credit card produces $1,200 in interest for the credit card company every year. The average card produces that's $100 a month on that card if you have an ongoing balance. You don't want to work on that. You can do it. You can set your intention and get those things settled out. And be where Barbara and I are, and there will be no showing of hands here because no one's getting embarrassed here. But what Barbara and I do is we pay off all of our credit cards balances every month. We use credit cards. They're fine. They're actually quite convenient. But we will not put anything on there that we don't intend to pay when that bill comes in. And we have excellent credit. You know, even though you're not making money for the credit card companies, the credit rating services say that's good, and they like it. So you get very high numbers. And if you don't, you at least find a way to pay those things down. It's quite amazing. Even paying a little extra helps lower those balances. Holmes writes. Let's look at page 11 here and see what seemed really important to me. Oh, this is the one Barbara likes. This is good. Yeah, this is a good one. Holmes writes, money is freedom to do what you want to do, to go where you want to go, to be what you want to be. There is nothing bad in money. For who can see wrong in a symbol of service, which is great impersonal force, inspiring faith, and convertible into other forms which the possessor can creatively mold into whatsoever he wills. He will. He wills. That's how it says. So, this thing about money. Those of you that had a little reaction when I stuck the coin in my mouth. Hold on. Do we know what this is? Yeah, let me turn it this way so you can see. That's for people who have same issues. This is a federal currency. It's a Federal Reserve note. It's valued at $100. What's $100? It's exactly what Holmes tells us when he goes through all these things that money is. He comes to the conclusion, money's nothing. It's a piece of paper. It's a pretty piece of paper.
I like how he says it's fake.
Do you know who owns this? Yeah, the government owns it. Federal crime. Recorded. That was a pretty one. Oh, Barbara, this is the one I was going to give to you. How you feeling? How can I do that? First of all, I know that the government can't afford to send someone out here to arrest me today. I can do that because I know I can create unlimited numbers of those in my life. I'm not afraid of money. I can create as many of those as I like. And when I get them, I'm delighted. And when I send them out in the world some other way, I'm delighted. I love to be in the flow. But I'm not afraid of the money. I can do that. I can make lots and lots of those. And I intend to make lots and lots and lots of those in the remainder of my life. So one being gone, I say bye-bye. And I'm okay. I'm unchanged because I no longer have that $100. Most of the people in the world could not do that. I remember Barbara and I went to an event that I was a part of an international organization who actually came to Highlands, North Carolina for one of their annual meetings. And we went out there and we actually had a breakout group that did that, where we all burned some currency. And the people got so excited, understanding how liberating it was, that we brought it to the bigger group. And the group was probably about this size. And we were outside in a tent at this hotel in Highlands, and we burnt a bill. I don't remember whether it was a 20, 50, or 100, but it was a real bill. One woman came unglued. How many people could you have fed with that? How much you could have saved in the world with that? It was like, that was the only $100 bill in the world. And she couldn't get that we can keep making those over and over and over again. The government keeps making them, but we can keep finding them flow in and out of our lives. And it's fine, it doesn't change who we are. But by doing that exercise, and if you had any kind of resistance to it, look at that in your life. And I'm not telling you go burn your money. I'm telling you that that's something to look at, that you are looking at it from a limitation point of view rather than from an unlimited point of view. And that's where we need to be. We need to know that we can create as many of these as we want, as much money as we choose. And that it will grow exponentially if we're paying attention and we're applying the right ideas around it. Then money will grow without exception. It will grow. Holmes says that money is a symbol of service. And Edwin Gaines confirms that by telling us all that getting $1 million is not hard at all. Quite easy, in fact. All you have to do is provide $1 million worth of service, and you'll have $1 million. It's really, I mean, that's oversimplified, but it makes the point, is that what are you willing to bring to the world, where the world will reward you with that flow, that dynamic flow. And it's not, success is not just money. That's just one element of it. You know, success is admiration, connection, all kinds of things that have to do with that idea of success. Power, really, and not power over, but power within you. That's all part of success. Confidence, part of success. And you don't wait till you're successful to have those things. You got to have them as you're on this road of success. So whatever is going on in your life, however you're bringing yourself to the world, there's work to do. There's something more to do. And it's yours to find out and figure out. So that's what we're going to talk about for these tonight and the next 5 weeks, next 5 Monday nights. Are there any questions at this point? Anything stirring in you want to say out loud?
Honestly, I'm just glad you didn't eat it.
Did you think I was going to eat the quarter? Yeah. There's a clever ad right now by Allstate. You know, always putting the fear of God in people, where the guy that plays the mayhem eats the ring at the wedding. I love that. I love that. You know, we can play those fear games all we want, and we'll get the result of it. Or we can know that life is working perfectly no matter what. And accept that for ourselves, and something extraordinary will happen. So why don't we go ahead and break for and we'll come back in a few minutes. I'm always on. Well, we're almost done. Okay, so many of you got one of these, right? Just to be clear, it's only this panel that you write your information on that you're going to turn in tonight, that you're going to put in the basket. So the panel in the middle has your treatment on it. You don't want to give us that. Okay, so you're giving us this, the whole thing, don't cut it off at the lines there, like you're not part of the top part here, because you are. And keep this part, because this is the part you're going to take home and learn the treatment on, right? Everybody clear? And so you can't put those in the baskets tonight. That's what we're asking you to do. Okay. Money. So why is it that some people have large amounts of money and other people don't? Obviously there's some ingredient. And yes, we're going to go through the secrets of success over these weeks that we're together. But when I ask myself that question, some interesting stuff comes up. And it's actually on page 17. If you're all reading this book, then obviously you remember this very interesting little paragraph at the top of chapter 3, where he says an Italian laborer in Los Angeles spent 20 years digging sewers. During the time he carried suspended around his neck a bag containing a good luck stone, a little red thing that he had picked up. One day, a glint of the color caught the eye of an onlooker. The bag was opened, and the little red thing proved to be a pigeon ruby. It was worth $20,000. And when he wrote this in 1926, $20,000 was a lot of money. So for 20 years, this man dug in the dirt. He lived in squalor and fed on the fare of poverty and ignorance of his hidden fortune. That's pretty dramatic, but it makes the point. That ruby that man carried around his neck had great value. He didn't know it. We all have a ruby hanging around our necks. We have stuff of great value. And some of us in this room are doing a really good job of identifying their value in the world. But we can all get it deeper and better. We can all understand that this isn't just a story about a guy in LA, that it's really about all of us. That we have this hidden treasure in who we are. Somewhere in the book, in the early part of the book, he talks about the fact that this that he is writing about is not about how to increase your skills. You'll do that naturally. It's about unearthing from within you this sense of who you are and bringing it out with these things he calls secrets and bringing that vitally into your life. Those of you that were here last week got to meet Brian Byron. Many of you probably have seen him in the room and know that he's married to our beloved Carol here. Time for Brian or Carol? This man really is one of the best in the world at what he does. The best in the world. And if you saw him, you put that energy into our group on Monday night. It's the same energy he puts into a production for 5,000 people. There's no difference. He brings it all. Now wasn't with us as long as he's with some of those other groups. He honed it down so that he could give it to us. But did you get his energy? Did you get his enthusiasm? Did you get his clarity? How he articulates his stories so clearly? How you know exactly what he's talking about? How he animates them? This is his world. Now he said he's done board breakings up toward 1,800 times in his life. He ought to be getting good at it. But there's plenty of people that do things repetitively and don't really grow into it. I've known Brian for a few years. Frankly, he's getting better. He's getting better. Who thinks Brian Byron needs to get better? But yet he is. If you look at the great golfers in the world, and I'm no great fan of golf, but I watch it a bit to see what's going on. And what I see is people that are champions, that are masters, that have won great tournaments. And the first thing they do in the morning is they go out and they hit golf balls. Haven't they hit enough golf balls? They're masters. Yet there they are out there doing that work. What is it causes people to do that? What is it that causes a quarterback, after practice, 3 hours, everybody's exhausted, to go grab his 2 best receivers and go back on the field and make them run routes and throw the ball to them. What makes that, and that one is the one that becomes the champion. What is it in people that do that? And what I believe is that it's about commitment. Now, commitment sounds like a rigid word. Like, oh, I'm committed. But the truth is that when you're committed to yourself, to bringing forth the value that's within you out into the world, when you have that commitment, you got to act on it. You got to do more than the other guy does. You got to know who you are in a more deep, engaged way. And there's an old quote that I've been using for years because I really love it. It's about commitment. It's about the idea, and it comes from a man named, he's a British writer and adventurer, William Hutchison Murray. You've all, not all of you, but most of you have heard this, and I'm going to read it for you. And you guys can read along if you'd like, because I've got it, I'm going to have it up here on the screen. But I really want to sit with this for a minute about what he's talking about here. Until one is committed, there is hesitancy, the chance to draw back. Always, always in effectiveness. Concerning all acts of initiative and creation, there is one elementary truth, the ignorance of which kills countless ideas and splendid plans. That the moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. Providence moves too. Something happens when one commits oneself. All sorts of things occur to help one that would never otherwise have occurred. A whole stream of events issues from the decision, raising in one's favor all manner of unforeseen incidences and meetings and material assistance, which no man could have dreamt would have come his way. He's saying that commitment opens doors that you couldn't have imagined. When I stand committed to an outcome, things will come. They don't always come easy. They don't always come immediately, but they come because one is committed. And who are you committed to? To oneself. That's the only place to be committed. There's one more piece. And then
what's his name again?
William Hutchison Murray. In this last part, he quotes Goethe. Goethe was a German writer and philosopher. I have learned a deep respect for one of Goethe's couplets. Whatever you can do or dream you can, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. That is the most beautiful thing I know about commitment. And it's brilliant. It's brilliant to understand that what I choose to do inside of me creates activity outside of me. Because there's really only one thing going on. You know, you get into the science of modern philosophy, this is logical. If I choose to have something occur in my life, and I am committed to it, then it will come. The call will come, the thing in the mail will come, the friend will suggest, something will happen. Something will happen that will allow that thing that I am committed to move forward. I don't have to do it myself, thank God. That there are people that want to help me. There are people that want to see me successful. There are people that will invest in me. That's the beauty of life. If we're committed, if we're committed. So I think that element of commitment is so valuable and so important that it plays a major role in anyone being successful. So I have my little story for you. As some of you know, having completed my term of elected office with Centers for Spiritual Living, that's a good thing. And thank you, Mary Love, for taking that seat on the Leadership Council. Not that she's the field leader of the organization, but she's got a seat on the council. So I don't make my living here. That's not part of the deal. So I don't receive an income from Center for Spiritual Living. I like to call myself the #1 volunteer. And as you can see, I put some time into this. And it's a good thing. So what I am committed to and what I want to do next in my life as an interesting thing to engage in is to bring the teachings of Science of Mind to a greater audience. I want to bring it into the secular world. I believe the things we teach here can be shared and taught with corporations and organizations and groups of people that are completely secular minded. I have to change my language a bit. I have to rethink it on how it's presented. But I believe what we teach here belongs to the world, not to just us. So that's my commitment, is to do that. So the first amazing thing that came to me with that was Brian Biro is mentoring me into that. He said, and here's what he said. Well, he said many things, but he said to me that if I build a website that shares in a nice way, a good way, who I am and what I bring to the world, that once that's up and people can go there, that he will introduce me to major speakers, agents, and bureaus around the country. And that they will, on his recommendation, they will get me contracts, and I will be traveling and doing speaking engagements. I'm thrilled. I've never built a website. So I engaged the support of Devon Emler, who has built lots of websites. And what our first big project, we actually have it, you can't get to it yet, but it's called johndwaterhouse.com, and when it's up and available to you, you'll be able to go there, and what will be on the front page is a series of vignettes, short talks, just to give the flavor of what I'm bringing. And it's been Devon and I who said we're going to work this out, and we did a test case. We went down to the Unity Church by the airport, and we used their stage, and we set up, and I spoke to an empty room. Barbara and Devon and Rodney were the only people in the room. And Devon, after she looked at it, she said, "That doesn't work, John. It shows. You can't fake that. And maybe some people can, but I can't." See, we have to do this with an audience. On an audience. And we need to find different places because we don't want to do all 4 of these with the same background. So I got to find an audience and places. No, Steve, don't give me the answer. So I'm with that. And so I start calling some people and places about where maybe I could rent the space, and when it was still available, I talked to the people at Dynawortham, I talked to people at UNCA, I talked to the people at Unitarian Church about using their stage, and nobody wanted to help me. Oh, Wortham would gladly take $2,000 for me to use the space for an hour. But it just didn't, it wasn't working. So we didn't do much for a while. And it was kind of, things had slowed down. And then I realized that Brian was coming here to do this thing, and he was going to look at me and say, "Hey, come on that stuff, John." So I met with Devon, and we're throwing our ideas around, and I said, "Well, I do them all here, but I can't have the same background." She said, "Well, why don't you talk to Chuck Camper? He does weddings. He has draping systems." Really? So last week I took Chuck Camper to lunch. And I almost forgot to ask him because we were having such a good time chatting and talking about stuff. And I thought, oh, I was supposed to talk to you about this. And I told him what I just told you. And he says, "I got everything you need." He said, "I would be delighted to come help you do this." So it's resolved. So we're going to do it on Sunday mornings. I'm going to give you my thoughts. So, Chuck Camper, you're providence in my life. Thank you. Thank you.
Perfect. Yeah.
Who in the room has a story that they can share where they have? Deb has a story. I'll let Barbara come get this. So, think about it while Deb's going to give her story. If there's anyone else in the room that has that kind of a story of, you know, I didn't know how it was going to work out, and then boom, there it was. So, okay, we'll go with Deb and then Michelle.
Yeah, Mary and I have lived in the same house for 15 years, and when we moved here, it's a duplex, and we said, well, this is going to be our first rental property, and we're gonna find where we really want to live, and we're gonna just live here for a little while. Well, then, you know, we could never find another house we really liked and could agree on, and then the market kind of went down, and so we held on to it, and in the meantime, we bought some more duplexes, and we've had them for a long time as well. So we've just sort of been like land barons out in Leicester. Cash poor and not really cash poor, but I'm just saying. I'm just saying. You know how people will say property rich and, you know, whatever. So here we are sitting on these duplexes, and we found something we wanted to buy, and we would go to the bank and, oh yeah, we can do all this for you, and you go through all the hoops and you give me a tax return, you do all this. Then at the end they go, no, we can't help you. You have too many loans out. Or there's always an excuse. So we started to get really discouraged with the banks. And you know, there have been more than one time that we found just the right house and everything's about to work out and then something doesn't work out. So we got really discouraged, and then this last little presidential campaign, and when I saw the Trump signs in my neighborhood, I said, I don't want to live here anymore. I'm tired of living around neighbors. I can't really have a conversation or a sense of community, and I only talk about dogs and chickens and stuff. You know? So I really got this desire. I really wanted to live in a green home because it's what we do. Mary added me to the business, so now I'm fully in. I'm all in, committed. Like I was all in, well, not really. I was not. Now that she's added me to the corporation, I'm in. So, you know, I'm suiting up and showing up every day. I moved my office to the basement and everything. I used to work in the kitchen. I didn't want to go in there. Anyway, when Mary and I found the right place, the right neighborhood, and we saw the model home down at Uplevel at the river, and I'm just like, oh my God, I'd love to live here, like it was a dream. And then they told us the price. And I was like, oh my God. So, you know, I expanded my mind around that. And then that was actually a low thing. So it was actually several $100 more, $100,000 more than that. And I'm like, oh, wow, well. So I actually had to expand my prosperity mindset consciousness on that. And I had to become willing to sell the rental property, which has been our source of security. And because I decided I didn't want to just spend the rest of my life sitting up on top of a hill and having money coming in but not being happy. So I wanted walkability, I wanted progressive neighbors, I wanted beauty around me, I wanted mountain views, I wanted river, I wanted all of this. So, long story short. Barbara's coming in on the left. So we actually talked to a builder. He showed us the plans, and it became more real. Then we figured out how we can actually sell our rental property and then not have to pay capital gains by renting it. We're buying the model home, and then we're going to rent it back to the builder for 2 years, which will satisfy the IRS commitment so we don't pay any capital gains. Then we move in immediately and take over our house, and it's got geothermal, solar panels, it's net zero, it's in a very affluent, nice neighborhood with walking trails and all the beauty around us that we want. Progressive neighbors, we've already met the people, it's us, totally. Mary is getting her farm she's always wanted, and we don't have to work it. We just get to
Congratulations. Yeah. Oh, the best part.
The part I didn't share with you is we still couldn't get a loan from the bank. But this woman we barely know, who wants us to be her neighbor, said, I'll loan you $300 grand.
Good for you. Congratulations. That's excellent. Yeah. Michelle, she's coming to you. Stand up. Thank you.
So many of you know I love teaching the 4 agreements, and I love sharing them, and it's in my heart. And I do it here all the time, and now I've been doing some platform talks in other places as well. And one day I said, you know, Michelle, you really love this. Why don't we do more of it? So that day, I said, I want a bigger footprint in the world teaching the 4 agreements. I already have a website, I have clients, people come. I wanted it to be bigger because I felt like the world needed that right now. And that next day, I got a phone call from a yoga studio in Hendersonville where one of the people who had been in my class was attending, and the owner said, will you come here and teach the 4 agreements? I did nothing. That same day, I was chosen to be the keynote speaker at the practitioner conference here in Asheville.
Yeah!
So I'm so excited about creating what it is that I really want to do. And I want to say that for me, there was a lot of surrender of other ideas and other things I thought I wanted, but there's nothing in the world that floats my boat the way it makes us.
Yay, Michelle. Anyone else? We've got time for one more. Jen?
Yeah, I have a vision that I'm working on now that it really means a lot to me. It's all about sharing my purpose for being on this earth. And every time I start to go to that place of, oh, you can't do this, or, oh, geez, this is too big, I remember that it was just a year ago that I had this vision that because I was able to start using hiking poles to walk instead of a walker, I thought, well, what else do I want to do? Because I can do this. And so I thought, I want to be able to ride a 2-wheel bike again. And nobody thought it was possible, including all my doctors. They said, please don't do this. It's impossible. But anyway, I had this quest, and I had this purpose, and that's all I focused on. And I developed a plan of how I was going to work out my body every day to do the progressive steps so that I could ride this. And I had to start on a small child's bike and work up. But I devoted myself to that for 3 to 4 hours every day. And 11 and a half months later, I rode a 2-wheel bike, and I'm able to do that now. So I'm just reminding myself, if I can do that, and I did this other stuff, of course I can do what I really want to do. So, you know, it's just a reminder to myself, you know, like, that. So, thank you.
That's great.
This is the place where we do the impossible every day.
That's right. Is there anybody in this room that thinks they are unable to achieve great things in your life? Good. All right, you got to act like it now. So here's what I want to give you as we round this up tonight. I've got some thoughts, things that you may want to know if you want to succeed. So if you're writing, get ready to write. And here we go. When you're able to control the way you feel while experiencing a specific condition, then you have the power to influence change within the condition. Got it? Does that make sense? That means that if something happens and you don't freak out and you go, I can still do this, this still works, this doesn't change my intention, this is what I'm going to do. If you hold that attitude, you'll get through it. If you go, oh God, I don't know what to do, then you won't. It's really that simple. And everything, what Deb was talking about, and Michelle, and Jen, are things where they came up against an obstacle. And they said what their intention was. And their intention is that they achieve that. And when you have that intention clear, and it's not just you, as I read from that quote, all forms of support come to you. Like Michelle said, the phone rang. That's how it works. We don't have to know how. We just have to know that we're committed to the outcome. It's the outcome that's important. And we have to be persevering toward that. We have to recognize that tension and move toward it. Do something. Don't sit back and wait for it to happen. It's lovely when they call you, but sometimes you have to call them. And whatever way it works, you let it work. Betty?
I just have a favor to ask.
Oh, sure. I'll move it back. You can't see it, can you?
Can you say it again,
Sure.
please? Thank you.
When you're able to control the way you feel while experiencing a specific condition, then you have the power to influence change within that condition. You know, you can make the broad statement that I can change anything, I can do anything. But when it gets down to it and you hit a wall, that's when it matters. That's when you've got something there, is that if I know I can move through this, that this is not an obstacle that owns me, I'm bigger than it, then you get through it. Otherwise, you become complacent, you start thinking you can't do it, and things start unwinding. This will get you through it. And the time to remember it is when you go, oh crap. That's the time to remember. Oh yeah, I can do this. I don't know how to do it. I've never done it before, but I know I can do it. And then figure it out. And it's not all in your head. People will call, things will happen, you'll read something. Something will give you the indication, and you'll go, oh, I could try that. And suddenly things work out. Sometimes quickly, sometimes not so quickly, but it doesn't matter. It absolutely doesn't matter. Having happy thoughts and feelings makes it easier to direct your thoughts and actions effectively. Barbara and I used to have discussions about happiness and clarity. She would say happiness is the most important. And I would say, no, clarity is the most important. I'm starting to think that I can't be clear if I'm not happy. Time is irrelevant, as long as you get there. So happy thoughts, no matter what's going on, happy thoughts. I feel good about this, I can do this, I'm going to make this happen. It's all reaffirming that which we are. It's identifying the treasure within. The treasure doesn't have dimensions or a weight. The treasure within you is who you are. It's timeless, it's ageless. It has no top value. It can't be assessed. When you take action from a perspective of fear or lack, the action will always be counterproductive. Always be counterproductive. How could it not? If I'm afraid it's not going to work, it's not going to work. Now, there are those occasions where the fear comes up and it still works out, but don't count on that. What the outcome is counting on is you, knowing who you are, and acting according to that knowing. And never, ever, ever including outside environmental reasons for why it won't work out. You're lying to yourself if you think something outside of you will make this work or not work. It's all you. And that's a blessing. Sounds like a burden, but it's a blessing. Because you're in the driver's seat. It's up to you. And if it's not forming the way you thought it would, then assess it. And assess yourself. What am I missing? What don't I see? How can I get this done? What's there? What's my lesson? However you want to work it, I don't care how you say it. But know that that's not a stopping point. It's simply a point to allow you to get it. I've always said that problems are not against us, they're for us. Because they show us how strong we are, how big we are, how smart we are, how capable we are. Because we overcome them. Problems are gifts. Now, nobody wants too many of them. But they're going to come. Something's going to come that you don't know how to work out in that moment. And you're going to have to dig deep and find it in you. Not necessarily the answer, but at least the next step. It's there. It always is, without exception. You cannot focus on what's working and what's not working at the same time. You say you want success, but you're focused on the problem. And why aren't you moving forward? Because you're focused on the problem. It doesn't work. It won't work. You've got to focus on the thing that you desire. And you've got to let the problem go. It's not that you don't know it's a problem. Of course you know it's a problem. You just don't give it any energy. You don't stay up at night worried about it. You don't rack your brain. You know it's resolved. You accept nothing less than that. And then you let it all fall into place. You're a player in that. You're not outside observer. You're a player in it. In every step, every breath, every beat of your heart. You're a player. But you gotta play. And you gotta know who you are. And the only way to know it is to not focus on what's not working. Focus on what is working and expand that. You cannot commit to what you want while focusing on what you don't want. It's kind of the same argument. There's that thing in neuro-linguistic programming that says that some people move toward what they want, other people try to get away from what they don't want. God bless you if you're trying to get away from something. Because how do you pay attention to what you want if you're focused on the thing you're trying to get away from? So what do you want? I want this thing to go away. Yeah, but what do you... If it wasn't there, what would you have? I would have a life without that thing. No, you're focusing on the problem. Stop it. Focus on what you want. That will make it work differently. Amazingly so. Oh, there we go. Begin your day, even before you get out of bed, by looking at a handful of desired outcomes for your life. Now, the out of bed isn't an absolute. But out of the house is definitely not going to work. If you leave the house without doing this, it's not going to happen. Bed is a safe place to have these thoughts before your feet touch the ground. But before you begin your day, think about the desired outcomes you want that day. Some days it's just, I want a happy day. And that's okay. But some days, there's something you're going to do that day. You know you're going to do it. You know it's going to be before you. You might as well see it, work it out. It doesn't take but a few minutes. Spend a few minutes thinking about what you want to happen today. Give it form. You know, we're called creative beings, and most people think our creative beingness is that we have the thing or the outcome in our lives. You're being creative at the moment you have the thought of the outcome. You're creating the thought of the outcome, which has to be the precursor to the outcome. Don't try to do that once you get to the meeting. You got to do it when you get up in the morning. What's your priorities today? What's going to happen today that's really going to keep you in that line of moving closer to that thing that you're saying you want in your life? You're going to spend some time first thing in the morning when you're fresh. How many of you have had the experience of almost waking up and having a solution to something in your mind? You've had that happen. We always begin the day with that ability because we're not burdened or distracted by things. The day is new. We haven't done anything yet. Why not fill that early place in your day with what you want to happen? If you do, there's a much higher probability that that will happen the way you're imagining. Now, it may happen different. It may get postponed. Those happen. You do all this work and say, this meeting is going to, and it gets postponed. That's okay. That means you're just doing that much more good work for this meeting. It's okay. Whatever's happening, see the outcome you desire. Okay? Before you go to sleep, spend 2 minutes, 2 freaking minutes, recalling some of the most pleasant experiences of your day. Chances are, those things will line up perfectly with the things you did in the morning. And what a way to go into your sleep, of feeling the success of the day. Something wonderful happened. I had this great conversation. I got this thing in the mail. I had a meeting and it just went better than I expected. Just having those thoughts and then closing your eyes and going to sleep really makes a difference. Chapters 6 and 7 in the book are about suggestion. These are how we suggest into our lives the outcomes we desire. It is not beyond us to do this. Self-hypnosis is a real thing. And it's that simple. You don't have to look at it. Look. All you have to do is know the truth. That wonderful things are happening in this day before me, and that wonderful things happened in the day that I'm sitting down. What a gracious way to live a life. Yeah. Success is all over that. Pleasure thinking with things that make you feel happy. Yeah. Given the choice at any moment, pick the happy thought. And we've all been there where we're going, oh yeah. And Barbara's got this great way that she had me doing it, had us both doing it. She would say, how much money is that costing you? I'm so happy because I want that life. And I'm not willing in most cases to give up that life I want because somebody pissed me off. No way. My life's better than that. And when I let that happen, and it influences how my day goes, I gave all my power away to someone that really doesn't want it. Just because they push my button, they're just being who they are. So the better thing to do is to bless them, release them, and have a happy thought. And finally, nothing is more important than being happy. I surrender to that. Make yourself be happy, no matter what. You like this?
Yes.
Okay.
Awesome.
So what we're going to do is set your pens down.
No.
You can write this after class. I've got it up here.
There's a video.
That's true. So what I want you to do is set your pens down, set everything down, and close your eyes. And Barbara's going to turn the lights off in the back of the room. And we're going to do a little process just to end the evening. Okay? So just relax into this moment. Know we've had a wonderful time here tonight. And I ask you to set everything about this down so that you can know that your life is working. And the first thing I want to ask you to do is to let something go. The way that I was talking about my video recording dilemma, or Jen was talking about her wanting to ride a bike and not getting support from her doctor's dilemma, or whatever it is. There's something you've recently found that slowed you down, that maybe even stopped you for a time. Maybe it's still going on. There's someplace somewhere where you feel like you haven't been effective, where you haven't gotten to the place, and there's a level of frustration. I want you to notice how that feels in you when you remember that event. Maybe get a visual image. If you're visual, get a visual image of being in that state. Know where it was, what was going on. Maybe it happened today, who knows? Something frustrated you. So in this moment, I want you to take those images and those feelings, I want you to put them in a sphere. And I want you to put that sphere, that ball, that thing that's got that darkness, that troubling thing in it. And I want you to put it inside the pocket of a catapult. You know what a catapult is? It's a large slingshot. I want you to have it in there, and I want you to take that catapult, and I want you to pull it back, stretch it way back, take some steps back. And when you're ready, and there's plenty of tension on that thing, want you to let it go. Just let it go. And watch it fly off and out of sight. Now be aware of how you're feeling at this moment. That thing's gone. You can't see it anymore. Take note of how you're feeling. And now set that down. Keeping your eyes closed, I want you to think of a time where you were exceedingly successful, where you were celebrating something wonderful that happened in your life. I want you to again get a clear image of this. And tell yourself how you feel, how joyous that is, how wonderful that is, how powerful that is, how affirming to who you are that is. Really get into it. Yeah. All right, and I want you to put that again into a sphere, surrounded in a bowl. And it goes into the catapult, but now it's going the other way so that someone is actually stretching that catapult back further and further away from you. But it's aimed right at you. And then all of a sudden the catapult releases, BAM! Feel it inside you. That's the treasure. That's the power. Right there. And when you're ready, open your eyes.
Cool.
Did you feel that? Yes. That's real. That's real. That's who you are. That moment of success that you remembered is who you are every day of your life. Your job to remember it and act on it. You did real good tonight. Thank you very much.
Okay, take out what you're going to give. Get your checks written, get your envelopes filled up, whatever. Get your hands free. So pull out what you're going to give. Because it's time. It's time. I don't even think I need to ask you, are you ready? Yes. You're ready. Yes. You're ready to create things out of thin air. Yes. You're ready to have what you want to have. Yes. You are ready to make the impossible possible every day. Yes. Okay, let's do our treatment for prosperity together aloud. Get up. Get up. Get up. Be rich and successful and happy on your butts. Together aloud.
I dare to know that God is the source of all supply, and that money is God in action. I know that my good is here now. I am so rich and so full that I have abundance of money to spare and to share today and always. I know that true prosperity includes perfect health, perfect wealth, and perfect happiness. This word which I speak in faith knowing now activates universal law, and I accept the results. I bless all that I have now, and I bless the increase. I bless all the others in the increased income program of our class, and I know that we now prosper together in every way. I give thanks for this good, and so it is.
Not stopping. Again.
I clearly know that God is the source of all supply, and that money is God in action. I know that my good is here now. I am so rich and so full that I have an abundance of money to spare and to share today and always. I know that true prosperity includes perfect health, perfect wealth, and
four agreement, or four secrets. We'll see you next week. Yeah, four agreement.